The past weekend was a very busy sporting weekend with Formula One, top tennis, cricket, and a host of international rugby matches. Now, as spectators, we don't always realize or understand what goes into the preparation and conditioning of athletes and what technology is used in this modern era. Despite the very busy sporting schedules, we are fortunate to have two people who are involved in bleeding edge technology used in sport today as our presenters. To start off, Dr. Josu Gomez-Ezeiza, and I hope I pronounce it correctly again, will explain the current technology on match analysis and how the teams use the data that is generated to interpret the game, modify training, and prepare the next game plan after analyzing the opponents. This will be followed with a live demo by Gary Boddington of the PlayWize Mobile App that presents an athlete's profile to teams and brands around the world. I will introduce Gary later after Josu's presentation. But allow me just to introduce Josu to you. Dr. Josu Gomez-Ezeiza earned a PhD in exercise physiology from the University of the Basque Country in Spain. He collaborated with international and national institutions such as FIFA, the International Olympic Committee, World Athletics, Catapult, professional athletes including 42 Olympians, professional and national teams such as teams from SARU, Spain Rugby, LA Liga in more than 22 countries. Currently he is immersed in the sports analytics field at the School of Data Science and Computational Thinking at the University of Stellenbosch, trying to understand the physical demands of a game, use the insights to modify and adapt training sessions, decode the game from tactical perspectives, and measure game action probabilities. That's a mouthful. Josu is a very busy man, and I must say he had me panicking over the past few days trying to get hold of him. From his presentation, you will understand what he was busy with during the past few days. Josu also told me that he welcomes an interactive presentation, so you are welcome to ask or post questions during his talk, and based on the question I will decide to either interrupt him or we will pose the question to him at the end. So welcome Josu, and over to you. I've got screen sharing enabled, so you should be able to share your screen. Just unmute yourself.
Okay, I will speak. Oh, I think is the wrong slide for today. Sorry. This one better. I will. Hello everyone. Thank you for having me here. Sorry for the joke, but yeah, today I will speak about how we try to look for the perfect game, or how we can understand the game better to produce better outcomes for the next one. And it's like it's an adventure or kind of a journey that is, I think, that is unfinished. As Eddie Jones said, like everyone is looking for the perfect game, but it's like it's impossible to expect that the next one would be a perfect game, but it's impossible because always in rugby, for example, or soccer, you always play against someone that is changing your game plan. But yeah, it's like what we want to do is just use the data and use everything that is involved in the game to try to improve our performance for the next game. Basically, when we try to train the athletes or sports in general, until now was more about coaching, about the art of coaching, how the coach with their experience, if it was a professional athlete, if it was or after a educational system, it is a coach, but always was more like an art, and still until now it is like an art, because we are playing with humans. Players are humans. The environment is so changed so drastically from one day to the other. And basically, I can say that the coaching is an art. But luckily, year by year, the technology is advancing. We have more technology, we have more insight, we understand better every aspect, and even nowadays with all the machine learning and all these new kind of apply technologies, we can even give like a prediction or try to see probabilities of things that could happen. And because of that, it's like this part of this area is a kind of the balancing the coaching with science. And I like to put like this because this part is not substituting the coach, because always when you go to a team or when you start working with a team, the coach always is threatened that the computer would replace them, but not. Like the coach is always in the middle. And this is just a tool to improve the knowledge of the coach, but also to improve his tactics and his work, his everyday working. Basically, nowadays in professional teams, and I will focus today in rugby, as we are in South Africa and it's the national sport. Basically, what we use in the everyday life on a professional team or a national team is the video analysis. We track all the matches, we track all the trainings, and we code them, what is happening, how much, when. We code live, we code after recording, when the time is available. Also, we use GPS tracking. As I don't know if you saw on the TV the players having like a kind of a small bra, usually is inside the shirt, and in this bra they have a small device, like a kind of a 4 or 5 centimeters length and 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters wide, and that device is a GPS. And with that, we can get the XY tracking or XY points on the field of the player each 10 times each second. But also we can get the acceleration with accelerometer, but also we can get the gyroscope results in XY set angles, so kind of in the volume. But yeah, with all the players are tracked each second 10 times. During the match, but also during the training. We usually have other platforms that are more medical related platforms that players, they have an app that they can track all the wellness when they wake up, the rest heart rate, and also the doctors, they can track all the physios, any injury, any treatment that they are doing, to have a kind of availability of the players, and to track also how many days they lost, how much is the incidence of the team, the injury incidence, illness incidence, to see also when you are hiring one new player, and then after a year, if the time loss is almost a third of the year because of injuries as illnesses, you know nowadays that a player usually has a direct economical impact, and you want to track also the availability of the player during the game, during the training, with this type of medical or more wellness tracking platforms. And then also we track everything that is happening on the gym or on the field with any kind of testing data, with encoders, with force platforms. But this is more like kind of a everyday assessment of what is happening on the gym, how they are improving or they are not improving on the force or speed training. But basically, when we are doing all this on the everyday, we usually, after a season, we have 300,000 GPS data points after just with one season and one team. We have 1 terabyte of video with matches and training, because it's not just the TV broadcast. We usually, one TV match, we have up to 12 cameras that they are recording in different angles, like close angle, open angle, one side, the other side. And we usually have up to 1 terabyte of video after a season with just one team. And we have 10 gigs of additional data, that is CSVs, Excel, any picture. But yeah, we have up to 10 gigabytes of additional data. And this is just one team and one season. As you see, it's like a lot of data to track, to evaluate, to process, and to see what is happening. But the most important question when we are on a club, on a national team, is why we want to measure this? Because as you saw, it's like so much data, so much technology that we use. It's important to know why we want to analyze that. Then how we will analyze, if it is with the GPS, if it is with the video, if it is with medicals, if it is with any other device, and then what we want to do, what we want to measure. Is that what is a KPI for our sport? Is not a KPI. We do internal research if this variable is important, is not important. And then after that, if it is important, we track. If it is not important, if it is not related to performance or injury assessment or anything, we go for another variable that could be important. But also another points that are important is usually the budget, because usually this kind of platforms are really expensive. Usually a budget for this kind of technology just for the purchasing of softwares are almost like $150,000, $200,000 per year, and that is a lot, including all the pack we can say of technology available, the top of the top. And that is a lot for a professional team, maybe not in European soccer or NBA or American football, but for example, for a soccer team in South Africa or even a rugby franchise here in South Africa, because of the run, it's a lot. But then another thing that is really important, and usually teams they don't think about, is the skills. Are the teams that are the staff that they have the skill of track this technology, use the technology, apply this technology, evaluate this technology, and process the data that is coming to change their training or not. Because you can have a kind of the latest technology or the latest, technology we can say. But if you have a S&C, or if you have a coach that doesn't understand the video or doesn't understand how he can change the training based on the game demands, or how the game demand change through the year, we can say that would be quite unsuccess, or would not be so useful, that technology for that team. But here usually we are, or my side as a sports scientist or data analyst, usually is to create this buy-in with the coaches, with S&Cs, with the players, and try to digest all those data points, those data as you see here. When this is kind of how we can say all the data together, we can say on a Lego example, this is all the data that is coming, and our aim usually is to sort that data. This is a video, this is GPS, this is the match, this is a training, this is a kind of a longitudinal assessment, this is a talent ID kind of data. Then after that, arrange and put like a kind of order to that data, try to process the data to see trends, to see profiles, to see, analyze variables, or create new variables based on the raw data that could be more, that can can give like a more insights than just raw data. And then present visually, if it is a table, if it is a video, with numbers, with acceleration, with the velocity, if it is a graph, whatever, present visually. But the most important thing to help to the coach is to explain a story based on that data. Because if you don't tell a story, it's like you can give a coach a big table of data with numbers or graphs, but that the coach, what is gonna do is just check 2 or 3 seconds that table, and is gonna leave on the office, because he's really busy thinking on the next match. We want to tell a story, what happened, why happened, which are the trends, show with the video what happened, confirm it or not. And this is the storytelling, that this is the most difficult part. And here you need to know the sport, and you need to know your players and your profile of the players to tell this story to the coaches. And this is more or less a kind of a scheme of the process of the data. We capture the data as I explained you with all those devices of GPS, video, different platforms. We capture the data. We store the data. We usually store the data in different platforms. You can use any SQL platforms. You can use, for example, I use Azure of Microsoft, but you can use AWS of Amazon. I mean, you can use local storage. You can use in internet different kind of platforms to store that data securely. Because you want to track like 10 years, 50 years, you want to track a player that is coming from the academy every year, if it is suiting that pathway to the Springboks, for example, or to the first team on a La Liga team, or whatever. And you want that longitudinal data to see those profiles of what needs, for example, to be a lock in the Springbok. How is that evolution? And you want that data. Then you want to transform the data, you want to process the data, you want to make calculations by half, by positions, by different type of sessions. If it is attack session, defense session, you want to process the data, make some calculations and relationships, like regressions analysis, different kind of statistical analysis that will be here in the data analysis part. You can do statistics, you can do machine learning, you can do whatever you are able to do, because the data sets are huge. And basically what we do is apply different statistical analysis to things that are happening, to see if there is a relation between variable to variable, or which are the variables that are more important to win a match or to not win a match, or to see the impact of substitutions, or whatever, or to not predict, but to have like assess the risk of injuries of the players. And then we visualize the data, and for that you can use different kind of you can use spreadsheet tables, spreadsheet graphs, but usually we use big platforms, as the data is huge, to represent and to give like a interactive visualization to the code that he can click and he can see and he can filter. And for that we usually use Power BI system from Microsoft, or also the Tableau platform, that is a similar platform, but for another company. And the coaches, they can play with the data, and they can see different reports interactively. And then basically is to help to create the decision based on this data, or what happened.
Joshua, there's one question here which might be applicable at this time. Jeff is asking, can you get this data about opposition players and provide it to the current coach?
Yes. I will explain after what we do with the opposition. But basically, apart from us, actually currently we have big platforms that they record all the matches worldwide, like StatsBomb, like Opta, like Stratus. They record all the matches worldwide, and we can have access to every match worldwide, and we can see all the stats of that match. And we can see, I will explain you, but we can track what they are doing, their strength, their limitations. But yeah, absolutely. We have those big platforms like Opta, StatsBomb, Stratus, that they record all the matches and they code all the matches. But yeah, you need a license to have access to that. That usually is really expensive. But yeah, you have access to all the matches, in all angles, basically. Yes. I will continue then on professional teams. Actually, there are different kind of profiles. They have data engineers that usually they do all the infrastructure. They organize all the kind of pathway, all the structures, and they give support if it is happening anything on the data, on the extraction of the data. Then there are data scientists that what they do is enrich that data, we can say, explore, discover, and try to predict or try to find predictions or probabilities from the data that is coming. Also, we have another profile that is called data analyst, and what his role is basically analyze the data, make informed informs, reports, visualize, and give advice based on the data that is coming. Then other kind of profile that is more applied is the performance analyst, that what it does is interpret what the data analyst is trying to say or what the data is saying, and give context to the sport, and give intelligence based on his rugby intelligence in this case, or sport intelligence, or the social intelligence if it is South Africa or Australian context, or the different kind of social context of each country. And then also give like insight, like a kind of a more coaching perspective insight or experience that can help to data analysts or data scientists to dig on the data. Because sometimes it's like before we analyze, usually coaches, because of their experience, they have a kind of a trend or idea that is happening this, or because they see some patterns. And what we use is we use those questions of the coaches to go back to the data, analyze if that is happening, to confirm or not is happening those thoughts of the coach. And then sometimes we have a technical assistant that they give a kind of a even more applied, if it is for forwards, if it is for defense, if it is for backs, and try to implement this knowledge that is creating through the data of or the team or the opposition. But nowadays, even in soccer, they are a bit more advised. For example, Manchester City is even hiring astrophysics to go even more deep on the data processing, on this profiling of the searching for the perfect game. And I will speak also the two different aspects that we have usually is the training analysis and the match analysis. Why is important the training analysis? Because it's important because we evaluate the training based on the game plan. Is happening on the training, what is the game plan, or what the coach is thinking to happen or to plan for the game is happening this on the training, the patterns that he's looking, the action that is looking, just to evaluate. Then to provide instant feedback to the athletes and also to the coaches, what is happening during the training, but also just after the training. And then support individual development. See each player compared to the position, compared to the other days, how he's doing, what he's doing, is missing tackles, is not missing, is doing things well, the positioning, whatever. But yeah, support the individual development. For example, this is a example of a day report of just for the player outcomes. This is one training that it was X day 2019. For example, here you have all the positions and all the players. I sorry to put in black, but it's a confidential information, and some data is also confidential. But yeah, usually here are all the players. We can see the readiness of the players, if they are coming tired or not, if they are coming ready, if they sleep well. We can see the RP. We can see if that training was hard, was easy by each player, to give a bit of context of their subjective value of that training. We can analyze compared to a match in terms of volume or load, how was this training for each player, what is usually his profile in the match. If it is like for example, for this position, this session was a 41% of distance or match load for the player, usually for this distance on a match, while for example, for this position or these players, this session was a 58% of what they usually do on a match. And you can check one by one, player by player, position by position, like one training, how can be so, how is compared that to their usual match profiles or match demands. But also the same for the intensity. If it is higher, if it was higher intensity, lower intensity, or if it was a match intensity for players, and also for the position. And the different kind of distances, speed, peak speed, high intensity meters, sprinting meters, or how many sprints, how many decelerations, how many tackles. We have all this information with just one sheet, and the coach can come and can check one by one the days or whatever he wants to see by player. Also, we track the session. We can see we can put different drills here. We can see each drill in average, the demands of each drill, but also we can see the flow of the session in terms of Intensity in this case, we can see the warm-up here. The first exercise was quite hard, or was 150% above the match demands of our team. 122 this second exercise. This third one maybe was a kind of a recovery exercise, but yeah, you can track the different exercise. But also you can see in terms of a graph of match intensity and the duration, each exercise or each drill, where it is. If you want to kind of increase the intensity or reduce the duration, or if you want a kind of a look for example, I was looking that this exercise were more match demand exercise, but finally it was less demand. What is happening? We check on the video, yeah, to have like a kind of a feedback of the training. And also we can track like during the year how is doing, modifying the total distance, the acute chronic ratio, the different aspects during the day by day on a team or by position. But also with this, we can check the return to play. For example, we can see we have one player that this is our acceleration. This is the training or the distance above the velocity of 14 kilometers per hour. This is the change of direction. We can see, for example, that this player has a tendency of the red is the left foot, the deficiency. We can see that this player has a kind of a deficiency on his left foot. And suddenly here, he had an injury on the left foot and this was an ankle twist. And then we can see in the following days, we can track his deficiency or imbalance. And we see that the left foot, as it is injured, the deficiency is even higher. And we can track the kind of an improvement that return to play to the baseline again, or we can see not only if it is injured or not, also if we see that already it has a deficiency during the sessions, we can intervene with a new SNC program or kind of a rehab program or return to play program to track also all the injury stuff or all the injury part. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, here we can see after the injury even that this deficiency or impairment is even is greater, and then after the return to play, after the protocol is like going back to the baseline. Then all this is coming from the platforms. All this is coming from the GPS, but also we usually during the training we record all the trainings. We use live, we can say like normal video cameras from different angles. We usually put like a kind of a stand, or we use, if it is a stadium to have like a side overview, but also one side and then the other side to capture the players training. But also usually these days a drone is used to capture the information. For example, this is a footage that they are playing, they are doing the training, and we can see with a drone all the movement of the players, and we can give like a direct feedback to the players, to the coaches, even during the training, having like big screens next to the field, or even after the training with a training meeting or with a coaches meeting or whatever. But yeah, this is a really important key part when coach wants to do something and it's not happening, to have that live feedback or to have like kind of a repetition or video feedback. It's really good because the players, they can see what is happening and they can understand what is happening. And then we have all the match analysis part. That is usually basically we use the same information and the same data collection, but the kind of the aim is totally different. We try to evaluate the game plan, if that game plan happened, what the coach wanted, if that happened or not, or in which areas happened or which areas not. We want to analyze the opposition pattern. We want to see what is the opposition doing we can see, for example, this coach was from England, like in the last 5 years, 4 years. Okay, we want to see, we are not interested in the last 6 years. We want to see the range of the coach of this when was in this team, what is doing, or also we want like a more shorter period, like the last 6 games or 4 games, what they are doing, to see their patterns. and then also to assess the individual performance, what they are doing, how many meters, how many carries, how many passes, the efficiency of the tackles, the efficiency of the kicks, to assess all the individual performance. But basically what our brain or our work is based, or I use an example of Thinking Fast and Slow, is a title of a really interesting book written by Daniel, that is a Nobel Prize winner. But I will change this name of Thinking Fast and Think Slow to our work, like using more working fast and working slow. Because we usually, what we do is we analyze the game, we see the game, we give a report directly what is happening, and we try to automatize all the live reporting visualizations of feedback as fast as we can, because that is, for example, when even the players are taking the shower, they receive the report, or the coaches just after the whistle in 2 minutes, they receive the report. That is the live kind of fast working style. And then it is a more slow working style, that is to analyze patterns, to analyze the long term, to analyze a tournament when we are playing a South Hemisphere tournament, or it is playing a North Hemisphere tournament, or whatever. You want to analyze that, but that is more like a slow cooking or a slow science process. And as I told you, the work fast style, usually when a game ends, or when the footage is available, when we are not playing the game, what we usually do is give a review of the footage to the forward or to defense coach, or whatever, or the S&Cs, or also to analyze, to analyze the code, the game, and to produce like objective measurement, or to produce all the calculations that we want. And this usually, we try to automatize with Python, with R, with Power BI, with all those systems, to have the live report as fast as they finish, or the referee whistle the match. And then usually the following day, when everyone is like in a cold mood, or like a better mood, or not like a kind of if they lost like in a negative way, or if they won, like we did everything fine, like on the following day, there is like a technical staff game review with the coaches, but also with the players. And for example, this is used, like, as you see, like different angles, up to 10 to 12 angles they are used on each match. And then this is kind of an example of a report that the coaches they receive, but also some players, if we are interested in some stuff. But yeah, this is usually a kind of a 12-page report. It's quite long, and everything is automatized. But also the players, they can see every footage, every tackle, everything already classified as a kind of a playlist. They can see every actions of their own, but also the team, and everything is decoded, and everything is like if they want to see tackles, they will see all the tackles as a playlist, their own tackles, or the missed tackles, or whatever. It's like kind of a Spotify playlist, we can say, but with a video footage and information. And then also related to the GPS, what we can see is when we are attacking, when we are defending, like different passages. This is, for example, the first 10 minutes. And we can see when we are attacking, when we are defending, which was the kind of intensity. We can see a clip. We can see kind of here I put on black, but you can see a kind of like not players, but the picture of the players in X, Y, how they are moving, how they are interacting one to the other on that passage, on that possession. And you want to know also, these here are graphs. You want to know if that passage or that possession finished with a score or not, finished with having a possession, or retaining a possession, or not, or losing the possession. Or you want to know if that possession or that attack, we gain territory, or just we lost, or we maintain the territory, to see the contribution of each passage. And then also we have kind of what we call expected points. Each action has a kind of a value or category that after a machine learning process, they give a score or a strength or contribution to each variable. If it is a try, if it is a pass assist, if it is a pass error, you do a kind of you have a positive outcome or a negative contribution. And based on that, what you can do is try to expect that if you have more positive than the rival or the opposition, you expect or you can predict that you will win. Not always happen. Always you have like maybe like a last second kick, and sometimes you lose. Or in soccer you have a last second penalty and you lose. But you want to try to see, for example, this example of soccer of Manchester and Villarreal, the flow of different passages, if it was positive contribution or if it was Villarreal contribution. You want to see the flow of the match. You want to put the replacing where it was all the goals, to see also the flow, the dominance of the match. But also you can do this by player. And then there is a kind of a work slow pattern, or work slow part of our work that is more half a performance question or half a coaching question, and try to answer that. If that happening is not happening. And for that, we use the video, we use the data, we use also the coaching expertise, the experience of the coaches. We analyze the relevant finding, what we saw, what we do all kind of statistical analysis and data processing. We do a feedback to the coach after this report, or after writing the report. We give a feedback to the coach, and we try to implement or apply this new knowledge that is after an internal research to see that, yeah, if we can use or not, or if it is useful or not. And basically what we can do is to generate new calculations or new variables, but also this is used to analyze the opposition. Here you have one example of one table and different paths that we analyze from for a team or position. We analyze the attacking organization, which are kind of the formations on different kind of aspects, on different zones, some like 1, some 2, some 3. We want to know also the attacking transition, how they do when they are in an open field, which are the transition from one to the other, or which is the location of each player on this attacking system. But also we want to analyze the set pieces, the line out, the scrum, all the set pieces of the opposition. But also what we want to know is defending, how they are doing the same, the set pieces, how they are defending, the transitions of the game, but also the organization of the game defending, how they defend, how is the location of the players during the game. And this is done with every new opposition, analyzing on the last 4 to 6 games, or you can have a kind of a tracking of whole the year, or with a head coach, when they are with a head coach. As you know, when a head coach is coming, usually sometimes the game plan is changed also. And yeah, you want to be consistent, to try to feel a pattern, or to see a pattern, to kind of predict for the Saturday or for Sunday. And from this we get different kind of reports or analysis. For example, we can try to know the attacking opportunities from different, or which are the zones of attacking opportunities. Here we can see if they start attacking in their own 22, their own 50, where are the kind of starts of the attack of that, in this case, that opposition team. How the attack usually start, if it is starting with a kickoff or scrum or line out or penalties, when are attacking or where are attacking, or which are their strength attacking. But also we want to know how they end, if they end scoring, if they end gaining territory like here, if they end losing the possession, which are the kind of effectivity of each passage. Because if they have, for example, like here, it is a 40-something% of times that they are doing an attack, they gain territory. It's like, you know, that team would be like kind of a really vertical. You want to penetrate a lot in your territory, and you want to try to see how they finish each outcome. But also you want to know how they are playing, how many phases they are playing, or which are the usual patterns after a scrum or after a line out. If they are playing one phase, second phase, third phase, you want to see that pattern to localize a bit your defense based on that, or that probability. But also you want to know, the efficiency of each attack when they are doing a kickoff. If that kickoff, which is their efficiency, gaining meters or scoring. In this case, is a 20% efficiency. Like that once per 5 they gain territory or they score, and that is a really quite good efficiency after a kickoff or scrum or line out. And you want to know this team by team. But also you want to know the attacking efficiency by territory. For example, here we have the championship teams, New Zealand, Argentina, and Australia. We see in their own 20, own 50, or position half or position 50 and a position 22, their attacking effectivity. We see that, for example, Australia and Argentina, or Argentina is quite bad in their position 22 in their attacking system. They lose the ball or they lose the territory in the last 22. They have just 18% of efficiency in their opposition, while New Zealand, we see here, when is entered into the 22 in 1/2, they will score. And that is kind of a threaten if, in this case, New Zealand is getting into your 22. You want to try to make a pressure in the opposition half or maintain in their own territory when they are not so good attacking or creating a score or a gain on the territory. But also you want to see which are the playmakers in different zones. If they are playing more pick and go, if they are playing or more with a 9, with a 10, with a 12, this case Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, you want to see this kind of patterns to kind of put your game plan in place to kind of make over or attack these vulnerabilities or these game plans of the opposition. And here, for example, is analysis of that slow cooking. This is, for example, one team that I can't say the name but we lost last week. Is for example, is one team that we can see different platforms or different actions, different territories in the 22, 50, and we can see the effectivity of that team on each platform or each passage type, and we can see the difference between this team and the tier 1 teams that usually are like a top 10 countries, and we can localize their attacking strength. We can localize if it is above or if they are doing better than usual teams in the top 10 on the ranking. We qualify that as a kind of attacking strength, and we can see this team are 31% better on their line out in the opponent 22 than the average of tier 1 countries or top 10 countries, including Six Nations and the championship countries. Also, we can see here that they are 21% better than overall tier 1 countries on the penalties in the opponent 22. You can see the strength on the attack and where, but also you can see the weaknesses, what they are doing badly or worse than usual top teams on their attacking system. We can see, for example, in the scrum in the opponent 22, they are 20% worse than what you expect, and usually what are teams as South Africa or France. And it's like you see a kind of a weakness in their attack. It's like you know that when they are in your 22 doing a scrum, attacking a scrum, they are 20% worse than you, or is a weakness. Or also a turnover in the opponent 50, they are like 11% worse than what you expect, and it's a kind of a weakness. But also you can check on the defense, the strength of the defense. For example, a restart over 50 is 20% or 18% in this case, better than usual the tier 1 countries, or a free kick in the opponent 22, or a turnover in the opponent 50. They are quite good in defending. But they have also like defensive weaknesses. For example, a scrum in their own 22, 20%. They are quite bad on a scrum, defending a scrum in their own 22, or a penalty in their own 22, or a turnover in their own 50. And with that, you can see all these weaknesses of this team. But as I told you, this is a kind of a working slow or working fast movement, and usually our life as a sports scientist is something like that. As Johan was telling, I'm quite busy always because my life is basically this. Balancing from the live report, everyday report, try to automatize everything, but also doing all kind of finding variables, finding patterns, analyzing oppositions, and this kind of things that we usually do. And from my side, thank you. I don't know if I took a lot of time or not, but yeah, thank you for your attention. But if you have any question, I'm really open to answer. And I hope that you liked a bit the overview of what you can do with technology in the actual or current sports world.
Thank you, Josu. Well, I, for one, will look very differently at the next game that I'm watching. I'm just switching on the TV and things this happen by itself. And now that I see all the information that they get and they can analyze, I will actually expect them to perform better now. No, thank you very much. There are a few questions here. The first one from Derek. Do the players like or dislike all this monitoring technology? Or do they just accept it as part of the job?
Yeah, you have different kind of profiles. Some of the players, they love and even they push, they want to know more, they want to know more about themselves because they want to increase their performance or improve themselves. And they want to see, they want to analyze, and they ask for feedback every time. And you have the other part that you have players that they don't care about this because it's like they play the game and that's all, like they go and see you on Monday. And others that they are more, you have other profiles that they are like more players, like more insecure players, because they know that all this tracking is good if they are doing good, but also is bad for them if they are underperforming. And that is showing to the team, showing to everyone that is underperforming, is having like a bad contribution or is training like a more lazy way or kind of And you have different type of profiles and you have to act differently for each one. And it's a kind of a managing, also micromanagement.
But I think linked to that is also Derek asking, they're all professional players earning a living. Now, are they income linked to this analysis? Are they penalized financially if they don't perform according to the average or accepted norm?
Yes, Gary is going to speak more in deep about that, but actually currently you have already some examples more in the US, but also in the soccer are coming, that the renewal of the contract are basing of this data. It's like how much you are contributing on a match, on a training, and depending on that, I will increase your contract or I will reduce your contract. I mean, Gary is going to speak more about that because he knows more about that context. But already in the US and also in soccer are starting to kind of use this data to kind of give an objective measurement of what is your value as a player.
Okay. One question that I have, and I'll get to another question here from Dave just now. I mean, you keep on saying we do this and we do that, and now there are hundreds of professional soccer teams and rugby teams. How many industry players are available to do this at a match? I mean, they need special equipment, they need people to do all this analysis. Is it a whole new industry? Are there enough industry players to do all of this?
It's a whole new profiles that you need. I mean, basically, if you go to a sports science, for example, a sports science department to a university, what they are learning is about the S&C, training, these kind of things, or the usual coaching things. But these new type of vacancies, they are already, if you see any kind of work vacancy of Manchester United or whatever that I saw last week, for example, is like always they are asking now coding, understand the language, process the data, be familiar with this technology, extract the data, use platforms to visualize the data. This is a kind of they are already requiring this kind of profiles. And now is the universities or people that wants to work in this, they have to switch and they have to start learning this, because this is the requirement of, I mean, this is the direction of sports where it's going.
Fascinating. Dave is asking, and I mean, we always see on the screens during a live broadcast that this player made 9 tackles. So are some of this information available to the commentary teams, the broadcasters, at halftime or during the match or after the match?
Yes. Usually the feedback, what you can do is during the match with, I mean, you have a kind of during the match, you code, and the coaches, if you see on a match, the coaches with laptops, they are visualizing all the stats that are happening in live, everything they are watching. But also, and then during the halftime, you have a first report or first snapshot of the game. And then after the game, you have the kind of the complete one. And also the kind of the broadcasters, they have access to some data, for example, total distance or carries or line out efficiency, kind of a more global or not so private information because to increase the engagement with the public and with the fans.
Thank you, Josu. It was really an eye-opener for me. And as I say, I like to watch sport on TV, but I'll watch it with a different eye. And good luck with all your work, and enjoy Stellenbosch while you're not in Spain.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Now for a practical demo of the PlayWize app by our second presenter. Gary Boddington was born in Cape Town and represented South Africa in both field and ice hockey. He retired from competitive sport after the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, USA, and subsequently channeled his competitive energy into a career as a technology entrepreneur. Gary is now a seasoned technology executive who founded and leads several global companies, exploring new markets, developing new products and services. In 2017, Gary co-founded PlayWize Technology to unite his 2 greatest passions in life, namely sports and technology. In his current role as chief executive with PlayWize, Gary is focused on becoming an expert in the world of sport technology with emergent technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and more. Gary now lives in Vancouver, Canada, from where he joins us today. You can see his nice background there. I think there's currently a time difference of about 10 hours. So at the moment, it is it's past midnight already in Gary's house. Thanks, Gary, and I hope you stay awake, but we're looking forward. So over to you.
Yeah, morning, Jan. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. And I must say thanks to Josu. I've been working with Josu now for quite a while, and I'm always absolutely fascinated by the work that he does, and I mean, so much of what he does is so relevant now. But we're very fortunate. It's incredibly sophisticated what he's done, and we're very fortunate to see that, because he's very humble, and he doesn't share that. That's actually what he's done is very rare globally in terms of what's available in sports-wise. So fascinating to listen to that. So I'll just change gears very quickly, and the way we look at the market and what we're doing, and I'll try and show you a visual of what we've done. But our view is very much through the lens of the athlete, and we try and find a way for an athlete to find opportunities. And opportunities might be playing opportunities, there might be education opportunities, job opportunities, career opportunities, whatever they might be. And we try to bring a digital platform to that. So the way it happens currently is very old school, very analog. People have to phone or email or WhatsApp somebody to say, hey, do you know this person? Can you find a job for them? Where we've created kind of if you know what Tinder is, it's kind of a Tinder for athletes, or we've also been called an auto trader for athletes. It's just a way that we put an athlete's digital profile online, and then teams and coaches around the world can have a look at these athletes and decide whether or not they They want to interact with this athlete and offer them opportunities, which goes to the point that I think Derek asked a question about the data. Obviously, we load athletes' profiles so that athletes can present themselves, showcase themselves to teams and brands around the world. But a big question is, how do you augment that athlete's profile? And a big way to do that is using athletes' data. So if we can augment an athlete's profile with that data, it makes a massive difference to what they're showcasing themselves to people around the world. And a good example, which is quite high profile, to the question that Derek asked, is if anybody watches football or soccer, there's a famous footballer called Kevin De Bruyne who plays for Manchester City. He recently renegotiated his own contract by employing a group of data scientists, much like Josu has done there. And he went back to the club and said, here's my data, here are the details, this is the value I add to the club. I demand X amount of money per week, per year, whatever. And they settled the transaction very quickly because he basically validated his value to the club with the data. So that's how the data is starting to flow into the athlete's profile. So I'll just show you very quickly, and I know we're over time here, but I'll show you very quickly what that looks like. So for some reason, I can't share my mobile app on the screen, but I've got some step throughs here. If I can share my screen. There, can you see that screen now?
It's yes, yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
So this is it's the application. This is the athlete's application. So we focus on rugby union for now, but we are sports agnostic. The guy that you're looking at there, Guy Miller, is actually our chief technology officer. He's a guy that was born in Cape Town, but then moved to Australia, played Australian schools rugby, and then he went to the Western Force, and he went to the Highlanders in New Zealand, and he's currently a prop for Biarritz in the top 14. So we've kind of based the application on his life and what he's had to do, kind of traveling around the world and changing clubs. So it's like any other application that you would use. You'd have to load a profile. It allows them to, once they've loaded their profile, they can start looking for opportunities around the world. So on the other side, clubs, universities, colleges, professional franchises, they load opportunities into our marketplace, and then athletes can look for those. And then we also create a very standard kind of digital CV, if you want to call it that. So often it's very difficult for teams to get details from an athlete. So they scratch around, they find YouTube clips, or they get a Dropbox document, or they get a PDF document. We aggregate that into one very clean and efficient digital CV. And if you can imagine, as Josu was saying, you can have a kind of a Shopify list of the guy's best hits. We can actually pull that now into the guy's profile. So if you're an athlete, if you're a team looking at an athlete, you can look at their profile, and then you can start clicking around on their greatest hits, or you can look at their tackles, you can look at their line breaks, you can look at their tries, whatever. So there's all sorts of things, and that's how we wanted to work with Josu to pull his information by athlete into the profile as well. And then we send them news and details of what's happening around the world. So I'll just quickly flick through some of these screens. Some of it's quite obvious, but we gather details on the athlete and the onboarding process. So what is their date of birth? That's obviously relevant depending on the age group that you're looking for. We gather their nationality, very, very important nowadays because of obviously eligibility. And I'm sure most of you have seen reports that the majority, I think there's only South Africa and Argentina are the only two international teams that have 0 international players. Everybody is South African born. But other teams around the world, there's different percentages of foreign-born players. So, but that also, like for example, here over in North America, Major League Rugby is growing fast, and they're looking to grow grassroots. And you can only play in Major League Rugby if you have a Canadian part. Well, not only, they prefer to select Canadian or American players to play in Major League Rugby. So we gather eligibility details. We are relevant for the men's and women's game, so we gather profiles of all players. We gather profiles for 15s and 7s rugby. We are talking to World 12. Some of you might have seen the World 12s is potentially going to break out next year. We're talking to them as well. We can gather the highest level that they've played at, because obviously teams want to look for different levels of players. We ask them if what level they've played at, and if they are internationally capped or not. And then we ask them what teams they've played for, so they can actually edit the details of their playing history. And we ask them when are they available to play. So when are they going off contract? Because that's obviously going to, so where they're eligible and when are you available type of thing. Yeah, that's kind of the detail that we collect. So let me just go over very quickly. Did my screen change for you?
Yes, it's a different screen now. Yeah, you're on.
So I've gone. So that was. I just clicked through very quickly how we gather the athletes' details, and I won't go through all the detail here of what we provide for a team as well. But this is an illustration. So as a team, I'll give you a case study. We had there's an academy in South Africa that does testing of schoolboys. They got all these kids together. They all went to a camp. They did all their testing, and this kid put his athlete's profile into PlayWize. We had another on this side of the world at Siena University in New York. It's a very academic university with a very strong rugby program. They were looking for a number 9, a scrum half. They put their profile in. This kid in South Africa put his profile in. He's academically very strong and a good rugby player. He was looking for scholarship opportunities. The university in New York found him, and we did a match. And basically, this kid is now going to leave South Africa and do 4 years of computer science in New York. So that's the type of thing that we're trying to do, kind of at scale. It's very early days. We only launched in May last year, but that's what we're doing. So, but if you can imagine, if you are a university in anywhere in the world, or you're a professional franchise in Major League Rugby or in France or in anywhere, and you're looking for athletes, you can come into this interface and you can search all your athletes. You can see I've just clicked on search all athletes. If I click on the enter the name and I search for example, Bowden Barrett, it'll bring back everybody in the database that's called Bowden Barrett, and you can have a look at those profiles. Or I can actually filter by gender, by rugby code, by availability, by position. So you can see we've gathered that information from the athlete. Now we're showing the teams what's available in the database, and they can start searching. So we basically say to teams, have a look in here. You can find your athletes, or if you want to find athletes, we can also post an opportunity. So we call this kind of the Netflix effect. So if you go into Netflix and you want to find a documentary, you click on the documentary section and it brings back all documentaries. We're doing the same thing here. We just say, are you looking for props in the 15s game? We can show you all the athletes that are in our database that are props that play in the 15s. So you can start browsing by props. Or if you've posted an opportunity, you can also see the athletes, which I couldn't show you on the app, but athletes can also find opportunities in the marketplace and they might apply. So you can see you advertise for a prop. I can actually see here, I've got 3 props have actually applied for my position. So there's Guy Miller, he applied for that position. But I'll just, I mean, that's kind of how it works. I just want to go to the data to make it relevant to what Josu's done there, because that's what augments the profile. So let's say, here's this guy, Dominic, down the right-hand side here. He is actually a kid that applied for the collegiate draft. So in Major League Rugby, like all the North American sports, they're doing a draft system. So it's very collective bargaining driven rugby in the US. And they go through a draft system and they draft kids from the universities. So if you wanted to have a look at this guy's profile, you just click on his profile. And it brings back all that detail, which I was just showing you, how the athlete actually gathers their detail. So there's his playing bio. You can see exactly what's going on, his preferred foot, his highest level of education. You can see his playing history. You can see video analysis of what's going on. So this is where, as Josu was saying, you can start to bring back the number of tackles, the number of whatever it might be. And then for some reason, there we go, I've got a bit of a slow Wi-Fi up, sorry. And then this is where the stats come in. So this is where it gets really interesting now, because as the gathering and the aggregation of data and the analysis of data gets more and more sophisticated, somebody asked a question earlier, is this not overkill? You know, is there not too much information? And at one level, at one level it is, but at another level, if you're an international coach, if you're not gathering that data and analyzing, you're getting left behind. But at this level here, all you want is kind of the high level stuff. You're looking for athletes. So I can say, this is a particular athlete's aerobic endurance. So there's his Bronco test, which is quite a standard fitness test. There's his speed assessment, his 100-meter, his 20-meter sprints, and where they were done. And the verified or unverified just means the athlete can do a 100-meter sprint and time himself and put that time in, which is not verified. So it's got a red check there. Or he can do a 20-meter sprint at the call-up camp, for example, which is regulated by guys like Josu, by professional people in the industry. And you can say, okay, this is real data. It's not just the athlete making up their data. And you can see there's various categories of data now. So What happens here is we can start to surface the data about a particular athlete to the university, to the college, to the professional franchise, whatever it might be. But at another level, we can also start to do benchmarking. So we can say this person is a prop. How does this prop bench press rate against all the other props in the database bench press? And we can obfuscate that, so you don't have to give players details away, but we can start to do analysis of all this data in the database. And that's so long story short, really what we're trying to do is showcase the athlete's data to the ecosystem, where what Josu's done is really done the hard yards in terms of heavy lifting to get that data, to aggregate that data, and to make sense of the data. We really just showcase that to the world. So yeah, long story short, but that's kind of what PlayWize is doing.
Gary, just I mean, two questions, but I think they both got the same answer. How do you make money? I mean, in other words, who pays for what, and where does an agent? The players also, they've got agents, and they negotiate with clubs. Now, are you taking over that role, or are you combining it? But how do you make money from this?
Yeah, so great question. Thank you. So there's two questions there. Let me answer the agents one first. And no, definitely not. We're not interested in replacing agents. So there you can see, can you see my screen again?
Yes, we can see.
So you can see the agency there. We actually leave a space for agency. So in this case, the representation is actually a parent. And when the athlete onboards their profile on their phone, they can nominate, do they have a professional agent? Is it their parent? Do they represent themselves or whatever? And if they have a professional agent, then that agent is listed against their profile. And if any offers come in, the athletes decide whether or not they want to include the agent in the discussion. It's not up to us. We remain Switzerland in that discussion. If the athlete says, yes, I do want everybody to be included, then the email, any offers that come into the athlete will go to the agent as well. And then it's up to business as usual. So from our perspective, we are just a digital platform that's enabling an ecosystem that currently runs on very old school analog processes. We're not interested in replacing anybody in the system. Everybody plays a role. For example, we would not, if you find a youngster in South Africa that's 18 years old that happens to be just this crazy good athlete, we would not recommend that they go and sit in front of a big team somewhere without representation. But that's not what we want to do. We're just trying to find the matching opportunities. So we don't plan to intend to replace agents, but that is a question we get very often. And in fact, we believe that we can make an agent's life much more efficient than it currently is, because they work on very old processes themselves. So we're just a digital solution to upgrade that. And then to your first question around how we make money, two ways really. Well, there's three processes, but two ways that we'll make money. The first part is a free model, the second part is a paid model, and the third part is transactions. So right now, everything is for free for everybody, because as you can appreciate, teams don't want to come to this platform unless we got athletes. Athletes don't want to come to this platform unless we got teams. We're also loading brands. So we've got a couple of rugby endemic brands that want to approach athletes to do social influencer contracts or things like that. And the same thing applies. So right now, if I say to an athlete, this is going to cost you $5 a month, they're not going to jump on. If I say to a team, it's going to cost you $100 a month, they're not going to jump on. So it's called a freemium model. Everything is for free right now. Everybody's welcome to join. And then beyond that, we'll have a premium model where for athletes, so for example, this type of data that we can provide, we can say to an athlete, put your profile in and you can use it as is, and you can create your digital CV to share to the world. But if you want data, that's a premium model, and that might be $5. So buy us a cup of coffee a month, and that's when you get access to more advanced data. You get access to better deals that we'll negotiate with brands. You might get access, first access to job opportunities that come up or playing opportunities that come up. So we can use the data to provide a premium service to athletes and teams, which will be a paid service. And then the last one would be around transactions. So ultimately, every single transaction results in a contract. And I won't go deep into the technology, but we basically are using blockchain. We're wanting to build out blockchain and smart contract technology, which will automate the contracting process as well. And then we'll participate in that transaction fee as well. So there'll be a kind of a premium subscription model, and there'll be transaction revenues on top of that as well.
Thank you, Gary. There were other comments here or questions, but I think we'll have to leave it at that. I really appreciate your time here past midnight in Canada, and for me it was very interesting, very fascinating.